Hello everybody, welcome back to IndyCar on Sunday the 19th it is today of May, so we're getting through May very quickly at the moment. And speaking of May, brings us all the way back to the terrible B word, the Brexit word. Today's programme is largely about not Brexit, but the antidote to Brexit. Today is mostly about Scotland and about how it votes in the next couple of days. On the 23rd of May, that's in just a couple more days' time, we'll be voting to send our own MEPs to the European Union. Now, Scotland has, as its share of the UK vote, it has 6 MEP seats up for grabs. Now, you'll have seen today, I'm sure, the various poll results that are out at the moment. Now, YouGov has done a UK-wide poll, which looks at the voting intentions of everybody across the UK. And in the small sample of Scottish voters that's contained in the YouGov poll, we can see that the SNP has a massive lead. It's nearing 50%. But also interestingly, the Green Party has jumped ahead of both Labour and the Conservatives with around about 10-11%. Depends on which polls you look at. There are other polls that suggest similar things. So if you combine both the SNP and the Green vote, both of which are pro-independence parties, both of which are pro-green policies, you can see that almost 60% of Scots are in favour of staying in the European Union and of independence. Now that just leaves the other 40 or so percent to fight amongst themselves over maybe 1 or possibly 2 seats. It looks, on paper at least, possible that for the first time ever the SNP might manage to get 3 seats at the European Union, at the European Parliament, with perhaps another seat for the Greens, making 4 pro-independent seats. Now, it's a very tall order. I'm not trying to make this sound easy, and I'm deliberately not making it sound easy, because it won't be. To achieve that, those 3 seats for the SNP and the 1 for the Greens would take a tremendous turnout of Scots to vote for it. And even then, the way the voting system works, we would need to see the remaining, if you like, anti-independence vote split amongst lots of parties, which it is already. But we would hope that of those parties, we'd see the Greens making big inroads into that. So can it be done? Yes, it can, but it's very difficult to do. The arithmetic of it is fantastically complicated. But on the plus side, we want to use this opportunity. Everybody says, wow, what's the point of voting in this election when we're basically going to be thrown out of Europe by the actions of the English voters? Because that's really how this is looking to most people. So everybody's saying, what's the point of voting? The point of voting in this is, I mean, Nicola Sturgeon said it was to send a message that Scotland is European and that it's open for business and that we want to be a normal country and that we're not going to go along with Brexit, all of which is true. The European Union, remember, is getting lots of messages about the way Scotland feels about staying in Europe and also about whether or not we want to stay in the UK. And it gets those, excuse me, it gets those from lots of different democratic decisions that Scotland has made since 2014. First of all, it knows that there was a massive vote for the SNP in 2015, immediately after the alleged defeat of 2014. I say alleged defeat because it was so narrow, and the number of different types of vote tampering and misdeeds that were done during that referendum makes that whole referendum result extremely suspect. But the point is that afterwards, in 2015, millions of Scots voted for the SNP. So many, in fact, that we won 56 out of 59 seats in Westminster, a feat that has never been achieved before or since by anybody. Plus, I think that because of the way the SNP works, it's uniquely positioned actually to break rules. It did so as well when it was originally elected with a majority in Holyrood, which was supposed to be numerically impossible to achieve, but they did it. And then we had this massive feat of getting 56 MPs at Westminster, the like of which Mrs Thatcher claimed would have automatically given us the right to independence, but we never got it. So now we're faced with another election, and repeatedly the Scots government has laid down the law to the English government, said we are not prepared to have our powers removed just because we're leaving the European Union. 111 powers which Scotland is supposed to get back, which are not devolved, have been stolen by the English government, and they're fighting us in the they were fighting us in the High Court in England over this. Now remember, Scots law and English law operate in different domains. Scots law doesn't work in England, and English law doesn't work in Scotland, but they claim it does over constitutional matters. That's a bone of contention. But what I'm saying to you is that the European Union knows that the Scots have a triple mandate to call an independence referendum, and they've also got 62% of Scots voted against leaving the European Union. They know how popular the independence vote is in Scotland and Europe, and they know how popular staying in Europe is. They know it. But if we say it once more, this will be the last chance we get to tell Europe that we disagree with England, and to tell Europe that we want to remain as a European state, and we want to be a normal state, a normal country, not a captive state, not a hostage being kept in the attic of English politics, and having our house ransacked, as it were, figuratively speaking, and having all our goodies used by the English state. We want to be normal. And this is another opportunity, a last opportunity, I think, for us to say so in a democratic way. The way the statistics now look, it appears as though the only two parties who really are competing in Scotland, three parties I should say, are the SNP, Nigel Farage's mysterious and nebulous Brexit party, which nobody knows anything about, and the Greens, who are a well-known, well-respected, fairly sensible party with excellent credentials and great politicians. We have the upper hand here. The question is, can we shut out the Brexit party completely? I think we can, but we need to be careful here. Tactical voting is one thing, but using the D'Hondt system in tactical voting is notoriously fraught with all kinds of unexpected consequences. The best thing that we can do is to vote for the SNP, and if we don't like the SNP, vote for the Greens. Basically that's it. Don't vote for anybody else, because any other vote would be a waste, because it would be betraying your primary function, which is to gain independence and to have a green economy. Now both of those things apply with both the SNP and the Greens in this situation. Both parties are pro-European, another thing they have in common. Again, another reason to vote for the SNP first, and if you're not into the SNP, vote Green, because whatever you do, we want to take seats away from the Brexit party, we want to take seats away from Labour, Tory and Lib Dems. It's interesting that the Greens are now, for the first time in their history in Scotland, polling above the Conservative Party and the Labour Party in Scotland, something which I never thought to see in my lifetime. But congratulations to the Green Party for achieving it. It shows that they have the policies and they have the politicians there ready, and they are going to be an essential part of Scotland when we do leave the UK. Imagine for a moment, you know, people talk about left wing and right wing and far right and far left. At the moment, if you imagine Scotland was an aeroplane flying through the air, you have two wings to any aeroplane. You need them in order to fly in a straight line. At the moment, the left and the right wings are unbalanced. The far right is pulling Scotland to the right. It's pulling Britain to the right. It's pulling us downwards and to the right and back. It's a drag on us. And in all aeroplanes, they are affected by different forces. There's thrust, that's from the engines. In the case of Scotland, the thrust comes from our green economy, pushing us forward. The drag comes from the older parties like the Conservatives, the Labour Party, and now Brexit, trying to pull the plane back or drag it to the right or drag it to the left. But either way, they're trying to pull it back. The fuel for the engine for Scotland is actually the European Union, because that's where our primary market for our green energy will be. The SNP is the party of lift. It's what buoys Scotland up. It's what gives it the impetus to climb above all of this and to move forwards and upwards. So if you think of politics in 3 dimensions instead of 2, the SNP and the Green Party are the parties which push Scotland forwards, upwards at the same time, so we can climb away from all of this ancient baggage, the old fossil fuel economy, the old-fashioned Tory ideology, the far right, the far left. We can leave it all behind us. And this is our opportunity to say that using a single vote. Remember that the European Union vote is a single vote. It's not 2 votes, it's not the system that we use at Holyrood, it's 1 vote. And you vote for the party that you want. The SNP is putting up some excellent candidates. The Green Party is putting up its leader as a candidate as well. All of these people are going to be excellent choices. So, when it comes to the vote, on the 23rd of this month, make sure, first of all, before you even think about voting, make sure you have registered and that you are registered to vote. And then go and turn up. I'm fond of quoting Woody Allen, who said, "History is made by those who bother to turn up." We have to be the people who bother to turn up. This time, this is our final chance to say to our European friends that we reject the politics of division, we reject the far right, we reject even the far left in some cases, and we definitely reject Brexit. Because the European Union knows that we want to be free of England. It wants us to break free, it wants to welcome us back. If we state very categorically in this election that we reject Brexit and we do not allow we do not allow Nigel Farage's party to get any toehold this time north of the border, then we can safely say that we have rejected the whole thing. We've rejected Brexit. We rejected the Labour Party that wants Brexit. We reject the Tories who want Brexit. And we reject the Brexit Party itself. UKIP is gone. It's dead. Don't even need to worry about UKIP anymore. It's basically killed itself. Okay, so the situation we're in is we're at another one of these crossroads where we have to make a choice. It's a simple choice. We vote SNP, and if you really can't stand the SNP, vote Green. Right? It's a simple tactical choice, costs you nothing, and at the end of the day it says to Europe, Scotland is coming back to Europe. We're going to break free of England and we expect you to welcome us back. And they will welcome us back. But the more evidence that we can point to when we do come to break free of England, the more evidence that the European Union has that democratically Scotland disagrees with England and wishes to remain in the EU and wishes to withdraw from the UK, more importantly, then the European Union can point to this. And so when Scotland does vote to leave the UK and the UK rejects that, the European Union can point to it and say, but the evidence has been here all along since 2014 that the Scots really want to leave and you've ignored it. So we're going to go with the Scots on this and we're going to accept their declaration of independence as valid, and we would take that to the UN as well and say it's valid. These are all steps that need to be taken. Independence is not something that's won easily, and it's not one with just a vote. It's one with lots of small steps, lots of demonstrations, lots of votes, and lots of messaging to other parts of the European Union, other parts of the world that Scotland is champing at the bit to escape from this. We are no longer the hostage in the attic of the UK. We are no longer going to put up with having our natural resources raided by the UK to pay for their debts. We're not going to put up with that any longer. We're going to set ourselves free, we're going to become independent again, and we're going to rejoin Europe instantly. And we expect the European Union to commute our membership from UK to Scots straight away. And we've had lots of very encouraging sounds from lots of different European Union MEPs. In fact, there was a group of over 70 European MEPs from all across the European Union who have said that the European Union must accept Scotland back into the fold immediately without any waiting around to rejoin. And that was a letter, an open letter sent by 70 MEPs from across the European Union. So let's reaffirm to our friends in the European Union that we reject Brexit, we reject Jeremy Corbyn, we reject Nigel Farage, we reject Theresa May, we reject the Labour Party, we reject all of it, all of the British Brexit parties. We disagree, and we want to free ourselves from that and come back to Europe. And that's why you have to vote for the SNP on the 23rd, or if you can't vote for the SNP, vote for the Green Party. If you're already a Green, obviously I'm preaching to the converted here. But these two parties are vital, and this vote is probably more important to Scotland than any other part of the UK. I know that the Welsh will take this seriously as well, because they're starting to see now that they are being disadvantaged by being in the UK, and they are starting now to change their minds about both Brexit and about staying in the UK. So the European Union issue and the Brexit that the British government is planning, in fact the English government is planning, and all of the English parties seem to be getting behind, does not go down well with the Welsh either, and they're starting to change their minds too. Anyway, we can't speak for the Welsh, but we can speak for ourselves, and we have to say no, we don't want it. We want to remain in Europe, so we will vote for SNP and we'll vote for the Greens only, and we want to return all of those seats. It would be wonderful if we could get 6 seats. I don't think we could manage that, but if we can get 4 out of the 6, or even 5 out of the 6, which would be incredible, that would be fantastic, and that sends the message to Europe. That's about it for today. I'll come back with some more news tomorrow, but I think it's important that people get registered now and make sure that you know where your polling card is, where your polling station is, and get out there and vote. Let's give Nigel Farage a kick in the pants in a figurative way here. Let's make sure Scotland says no to right-wing racism, to well, basically to all. Let's just reject Farage generally and his entire ideology of isolationism and closing the door to other people. Scotland's been an open door country for centuries. We've never tried to shut anybody out. We're a small country with a small population, but we have a great deal of wealth, and we need people to come and live here and work with us, to exploit that wealth, to turn it into a shared wealth for everybody. And that can be done only if our doors are open. We close our doors, we lose. We lose jobs, we lose income, and we risk going back to the days of Thatcherism when unemployment rose to 10% or more. Inflation rates were running very high. Remember in the 70s under Labour, up to 15%. We're looking at going back the way. That's why I made the aeroplane analogy. The past is trying to drag us back, and the parties of the past are the Brexit Party, the Labour Party, and the Tories. The Lib Dems, well, they'll just say whatever they think people want to hear, but the other parties are trying to drag you back into the past. Scotland's better than that. We need to climb above it, and we need to get as far away from it as possible. And only voting for the SNP and the Greens will do that. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, but have a great Sunday, and remember to vote on the 23rd. I'll talk to you again later. Bye-bye.